Hey everyone, it's Jamie and welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well and staying safe. Today we are going to be veering off what I usually talk about, and we are going to be discussing the recent protests, riots, and some links that I want to share with you guys. Before we get into this video, some little things to know. We are going to be talking about police violence, police brutality. We're going to be talking about racism, sexual assault, a whole lot of hard issues relating to the most recent issues regarding George Floyd's murder. And yeah, so if any of that stuff is a little too hard for you to digest right now, I understand. Feel free to click off. Please also leave the comment section racist free. I know that's a stupid thing to request. So even though I don't have a huge platform here on YouTube, I do feel like it is my role as someone with a platform to use that platform to talk about positive change and talk about issues that mean a lot to me. On this channel, I've talked about issues like environmentalism before. So today we're going to be talking about racism. So as a white person, I also need to recognize my own privilege and also need to recognize that I am not the official authority, the official authority, that might be a bad word for it, but I am not the figurehead for this movement. This is not about me. We are going to be talking about the real issues at hand, and I'm just trying to use my platform to spread positivity as well as spreading links for ways that you can help. I also want to start this off by saying I currently live with someone who is extremely immunocompromised, so I am not able to go to any physical protests, because if I were to catch COVID-19, I'm pretty sure I'd be relatively fine. I'm young, relatively healthy. I have no underlying issues really. However, the person I live with is extremely immunocompromised. She's had pneumonia for the past year on and off. She already has trouble breathing, so if I were to get COVID-19 and bring it into the household, it would essentially be a death sentence for her. So I cannot go to any protest at the moment, so instead I'm using my platform and my voice the best I can. So let's talk about these riots. So as you all know, these riots are a reaction to Derek Chauvin, is how I think you pronounce his name, murdering an unarmed black man named George Floyd. George Floyd was held down while handcuffed to the ground with Chauvin's knee on his neck for roughly 7 to 9 minutes, in which Floyd claimed he could not breathe. Chauvin, however, did not move, and the surrounding officers also did not try to stop him. I have a hard time watching the videos because they're really upsetting, but there are the people videotaping and bystanders pleading to the officer to stop what he was doing, and he would not. So he effectively chose to kill that man. There's no other way to put it. And what this has caused is a lot of issues, because originally, from what I understand, the prosecutors were saying that they felt like there wasn't enough evidence to suggest that this was even third-degree murder or whatever. It was a mess. Essentially, it was looking like there was not going to be a conviction, so people started protesting. Those protests turned into riots, and they're still going on, even though they allegedly have arrested Chauvin and are going to be charging with third-degree murder, because there are people who believe it should be at least second-degree murder. So in Minnesota, third-degree murder means that you unintentionally killed this person, that you may have intended harm on them, but not intend to kill them. I'm of the opinion that this should not count as third-degree murder. It should at least be second. if not first, because how do you hold someone down and put your knee on their neck while they're saying, I can't breathe, and then go, oh, I didn't mean to kill them. They were literally saying they were suffocating, and then he died. So, if it were up to me, we'd get the guillotine out, but we don't let me do the law. So a lot of the conversation around this has been, I've noticed a lot of people saying how upset that these are turning into riots, and that the protesters aren't peacefully protesting, and how much riots don't do anything. I'm just gonna say this right now. I don't care that a Target was destroyed. I shop at Target like every day. It's a problem, but I would freaking let every Target burn if it meant no one else would ever be killed by another police officer, especially an unarmed black man. Just saying. Public damage to public buildings. We can rebuild. Buildings can be rebuilt. Homes that are damaged can be rebuilt. And if you ask me, the government should help pay for them, since the government's lack of action has led to these issues. Just saying. But essentially, I don't care about this conversation of, oh, peaceful protests are better than riots, because when they were peaceful protesting, no one listened. Police officers also, there are footage of not just at these protests, but at former protests as well, of essentially officers inciting violence by purposely harming protesters in order to get a physical reaction out of them, so that they then have a excuse to then arrest or cause violence upon them. At these peaceful protests / riots alone, I've seen peaceful protesters have tear gas thrown at them. I've seen a police officer punch a man with the intention to incite violence from him. We have police officers shooting at news reporters, also arresting news reporters. We're seeing, there's a video of a police officer who literally shoved a girl that was like smaller than half his size onto the ground. I saw on Twitter her talking about how she was not in his face. She's claiming she's not in his face, that she's not being disrespectful, that she was just chanting, and that he shoved her to the ground. To which, and there were people defending, like, oh, she should have been on the sidewalk. All I'm gonna say is, regardless if she should or should not have been on the sidewalk, there's no excuse to ever, especially for a big, massive, muscular man, to shove a small person, especially a small woman, onto the ground like that and cause extreme violence against them. That's just absolutely disgusting, in my opinion. Just saying. I mean, it just goes back to show that police violence, in my opinion, is never justified. It's always in the wrong. There's never, in my opinion, a real reason to kill someone. Might be controversial to say that, but yeah, especially in this case where we have cops allegedly also being accused of going undercover and inciting violence that way to try to make it look the protesters are causing more violence. I think also the fact that in this country we still use tear gas on people is abhorrent. You can't use tear gas, or you're not supposed to use tear gas in warfare. It is a war crime for any countries that are part of the Geneva Protocol. I know the US, their official stance with it is here in the US, I guess we use tear gas on countries that are not part of the Geneva Protocol. I still think it should be wrong. I still think people in the UN should view that as wrong. If you have joined the Geneva Protocol and have said, yep, I will not use biological, chemical warfare, then you should also you shouldn't use it on countries that also don't agree to it, because it just feels like a fucking hypocritical thing to do. I don't know, to be like, Anyways. But yeah, so we use it on protesters in this country, though, but we won't use it in war. How does that... It doesn't make sense to me. And what this ultimately, though, comes down to, as long as here in the United States, our justice system will continue to fail victims of police brutality, I'm not interested in the conversation of whether or not riots are morally right, because we all know that murder is morally wrong, yet we still let police officers get away with it. I'm just going to say that. I don't care. Protesters can destroy every they can destroy every store on a block, and I would not care. I don't care about corporations. I care about human beings and their lives. I don't know why that's such a hard concept to grasp. And when people cry about the fact that Target has been ruined, or that the police precinct has been burnt down, I'm like, yeah, but humans are dying. I don't care about it. We can build another building. There's one point I do want to talk about with the 3rd precinct, though. So the rioters did destroy the 3rd police precinct, and one of my thoughts about it was a lot of the evidence there now has been destroyed. There would have been evidence for other cases, maybe even this case. Not that they were going to use any real evidence for this case. They were probably just going to let the cop go free. But yeah, there's probably a lot of other cases that now have lost that evidence. But I don't put the blame on the protesters, and the reason for that is the police department allegedly has known since as early as 2006 that Derek Chauvin is a very aggressive cop. Since 2006, there have been roughly between 10 and 18. I've seen varying sources with different numbers, but somewhere between 10 and 18 reports, claims against Derek Chauvin for police violence, police brutality, excessive violence against suspects, as well as he's been in, before this, 3 other cases involving shooting suspects. The guy's got a bad record going back since 2006, yet they've kept him on the force this entire time, never once reprimanding him, really. Simply, I refuse to blame, I will refuse to put any blame on the protesters, because all of that evidence would still be there if Derek Chauvin had been punished when he was supposed to be. If Derek Chauvin had been punished when he was supposed to have been, George Floyd would still be alive. Potentially, the majority of those 10 to 18 complaints about him would probably not exist. The 3 other people he was involved in with shooting, they probably also would have been safe. Do you see what I'm saying here? I can't blame the protesters, because the police department consistently refused to solve the issue. So if anything, I'm putting more blame on them. And I know some people oh, but they're not the ones who burnt it. I don't care who burnt it down. It would not have been burnt down to begin with if we had dealt with this problem as early as 2006. Derek Chauvin actually even got a medal or some kind of award for one of the people he shot, which to me, that I don't know why people are getting awards for shooting people. I'm just saying. But so rather than also punishing him, they've been consistently rewarding him. So yeah, to me, all that lost evidence is on the department and will forever be a stain on that department. Just saying, none of this would have happened if he had been punished when he was supposed to have been. Derek Floyd might still be alive if Derek Chauvin had been removed when he was supposed to be removed. So, I'm not interested in the conversation about anything that is against, anything that is not supporting the actual protesters, slash rioters, whatever the fuck you want to call them. I don't care, because I'm going to stand by them and I do support them. But like I said, since I cannot go out, I'm putting a bunch of links down below that will have things that you at home, for other people who might be immunocompromised, people who live with immunocompromised people who just for whatever reason cannot get to these or are unable to attend the protests, things that you can do. I will have a link to the ACUL Minnesota chapter. They have all a bunch of things about justice for George Floyd. I'll also be having the Justice for George Floyd .link, which will have things like a bunch of different places you can go to, as well as numbers you can text. I'll also have blacklivesmatters.card.co. This will have links to petitions, places you can text and call, places you can donate resources, and other things. I will also have a link to North Star Health, wordpress.com/donate. From what I understand, they are a small group of people who are trying to get health supplies to protesters and rioters, things to help with, tear gas, and things that, as well as a link to Black Vision's donations, the Black Reclaim the Block movement, their kind of donation page. I'll also have a link to just donating to Black Lives Matters, anyways, as well as a link to the Black Lives Matters website. And I have some petitions from change.org you guys can sign. I will say, from what I understand, do not ever donate to change.org. I was reading beforehand, like, something about where some of their profits might go or something. I don't know. But either way, just sign the petitions. If you're going to donate to change.org. As well as also we have Minnesota Freedom Fund you can donate to. So a lot of links will be down below. If you have links for other places you can donate or sign petitions or just other ways to support, please comment it down in the comment section. I'd be very excited to see what you guys can come up with. These links, these aren't the definitive links. These are just ones that I was able to pull together. So like I said, feel free to check them out. If you can donate, please donate. If you can't, though, at least sign the petitions, please. I'm going to be going through and I'm going to be donating some of these, what I can, as well as I've been very active on Twitter on sharing links, sharing testimonies, posting on Facebook to try to help start more conversations, as well as also help counter a lot of the far right-winged some things people I know that are sharing. Stuff like, so essentially doing your part to help spread awareness and also your best to support these people when you can. Hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Make sure to stay safe, stay healthy, and please, 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 please do your best to just be a decent human. In times like this, it's scary to think how much human decency is missing. Anyways, thank you for watching this video. I hope you all have a great day. Love you lots. Please stay safe.